And even now blue is always here, and even now blue it shines so clear. I don't need a prayer or even words to say. No matter what I do, I'll never reach your birthday. Colors of summer are streams on my heart, and rolling right down from my cheeks is the sound of love to start. Words have you are stuck, it just feels like a curse that I can't contain. Will the two of us meet again? I wish I told you back then. My hands will feel what to let us talk about with this galaxy so passing by me.
Hello guys, it is I, TDI Fan 2024, and with the release of Kung Fu Panda 4, there are now 48 feature films from Dreamworks. However, I'm only going to be ranking 46 of them. Why? Because one of them is a direct-to-DVD sequel, Joseph Kingdom of Dreams, which I've never watched and I don't plan on watching, and the other one is Orion in the Dark, which I did watch, but it only dropped on Netflix, and in this ranking, I'm only going to count all of Dreamworks' theatrical releases. However, if I were to rank Orion in the Dark, it'd probably be somewhere in my top 30 to 20, somewhere around there. But, yeah. Anyways, with that said, there are 46 theatrical releases from Dreamworks Animation as of today, including Kung Fu Panda 4, and today I'm here to rank them all because I'm a movie guy, and I just love anime movies in general, and it's been some time since I've seen the majority of Dreamworks' catalog, and so me and my bro, we did this whole marathon of watching the movies since January, and now we finally got to watch them all once again, so yay, and now it's time for my ranking. However, this is just my list, so this is all just my opinion. There might be some movies where you agree with me, with my take on them, and there might be some that you disagree, and that's completely okay. Let me know what your top Dreamworks films are in the comments, and yeah, with that said, we might as well just get on the list. So let's begin. There are 46 movies, so this might be a long video. Sit back, relax, and enjoy my Dreamworks ranking. Coming in at dead last is not a surprise. It shouldn't be a surprise anyway. Shrek the Third. This film damaged the Shrek face, the face of Shrek. It damaged Shrek's reputation because before this film even existed, Shrek was known as some of the best movies. Like the first two Shrek movies were known as some of the best movies, period, honestly. Like I heard that the first Shrek movie made it to like this one thing, like I don't know what it was called, but like Shrek, the first Shrek is now known as one of like the greatest pieces of media out there, which is pretty great for this, especially for DreamWorks, for this being one of their first franchises and probably their best franchise because, I mean, it's Shrek. But ever since the third movie came out, that was when the whole Shrek meme era began, and now people don't really take Shrek seriously because ever since this third movie released, now people mostly see Shrek as a joke, which for the most part is understandable, and it's funny and it's pretty cool, and you know it's fun to laugh at the memes and stuff. But Shrek was just, you know, Shrek was a juggernaut until this movie released. This movie just painfully sucks. Like they ruined everything in the franchise. If it wasn't for Shrek the Third, then there would have been a perfect trilogy. As a matter of fact, some people even go as far to even consider Shrek the Third to not even exist, and they would rather have the fourth movie be the actual third film, so that could be a great trilogy. And honestly, that's understandable because this film shouldn't even exist at all, but it does. The jokes are painfully bad. The music, for the most part, is pretty good. There are a few songs that I liked from this movie, but overall, it wasn't as good as the first two films, and I'd say the fourth film had better music as well. And overall, this film just sucked. Like, there's nothing to laugh at. There's like the emotional moments in this movie aren't even emotional at all. Like, it's like they didn't even try, because the director of the first two films wasn't even involved in this movie, so it probably makes sense why it was so bad. And yeah, Shrek the Third is just one very hated film, and it deserves to be hated because this film just sucks. And of course, that's why it's dead last on my list.
Are you the baby Jesus?
Yes, I'm the baby Jesus.
Coming in number 45, we have The Boss Baby. This movie also sucks. For the longest time, this was my least favorite. Then I rewatched Shrek the Third, and yeah, now that's my least favorite. But The Boss Baby still comes in at second place when it comes to being one of the worst DreamWorks films ever made. I mean, like, I don't even know anybody who actually likes this film, because like what is there to like for this film? I mean, the animation is pretty nice, and I'd say the background music was pretty nice. I mean, Hans Zimmer made the music for this film, so of course it's nice. But overall, this movie just sucks. The story is mid. The characters are unlikable, like very, very unlikable. And I just did not care for any of the characters or this movie at all. Like, this is one movie that I was not looking forward to when doing my DreamWorks marathon. And now that I've seen it twice, yeah, I still don't like it. And, you know, it's really low on my list, so it's not hard to see why. Or it's obvious how much I do not like this film. And there's not much for me to say. It's just very bad. I hate it, and I don't plan on rewatching it ever again, unless if I have to. But I don't think that'll happen. So yeah, Boss Baby, another horrible film from DreamWorks.
You'll be. Wow. Aren't you just a little ray of sunshine?
Number 44, Turbo. This is actually not shocking. I remember Sheffield's Productions actually considers this film to be the worst DreamWorks film. For me, it's the third worst, because although I don't like this movie, I wouldn't really call it completely bad. I'd say it has its very, very few moments, like the animation and the cast, even though Ryan Reynolds sounds like he does not want to be a part of this movie at all, and it's not hard to see why. This movie is just painfully mid. I can't call it bad. There's only 2 DreamWorks movies that I'd honestly consider to be bad, or like super bad. But this movie, it's just very, very, very mid. Like, there's no redeeming qualities whatsoever. This movie's just a waste of time. Like, the first time I watched this movie was in my freaking Spanish class in 7th grade. Like, I didn't even bother on watching it on my own until this marathon. So, yeah, that just goes to show how much I didn't even care about this movie at all until I've seen it, and now I still don't care about it. It's just very mid. And honestly, DreamWorks, I don't know what you were doing with this film. Like, were you trying to do a car strip up or something? Well, it didn't work, and that's why Turbo is at 44 on my list.
I could go for a steak.
Stay out of trouble now, princess.
This ain't the coast.
Change your...
Coming in at 43, we have Spirit Untamed. Now, this movie is very unnecessary. Apparently, this movie is focused more on the Netflix show instead of the actual first Spirit film. So, like, why? Why make this? And also, why make this a theatrical release anyways? Like, I don't even think much people even bothered to check out the Spirit show. So, honestly, this movie is probably one of the most very unnecessary films that DreamWorks ever made. But, of course, that's just me. I'm guessing the show probably has a fan base. That's got to be the only reason why this movie was even created. But, yeah, Spirit 2, this movie is also very, very mid, unnecessary, very bland and generic. The animation isn't even that good, which is odd, because this came out in 2021. But I guess there were a few things happening that could be the reason why the animation wasn't that great. But maybe this movie was supposed to be a Netflix release in the first place. I don't even know. But yeah, this movie's just very mid. Nothing that I like about it at all. So yeah, Spirit 2, you are definitely not a great movie. And that's why you're at 43 on this list.
Ta-da! Sebastian, the whale-washing dolphin.
Number 42, Shark Tale. This should not be a surprise. Maybe the only surprising thing is that this isn't like my least favorite or in my top 3, which some of you guys might be asking why. Well, here's the thing. This film is at least somewhat entertaining, but not in the good way, in the bad way, of course. Like, you know the saying, it's so bad that it's good. That's pretty much what Shark Tale is. I know many of you guys would probably think the same, especially with all the memes and how heavily memed this film is. But yeah, Shark Tale. I guess the one thing I could say is that this film definitely has the worst, and I mean the worst, animation out of any of the other DreamWorks films on this list. Yeah, I'd even say the film looks even bad than freaking Antz. And Antz was their very first animated film, so you'd think that would be the worst animated film, like when it comes to the animation. But nah, I'd say Shark Tale is abysmally worse when it comes to the animation. But how about the story? The story is pretty meh, but also over the top. Like, there's a whole not Shrek, there's a whole shark mafia in this entire film, which is very odd. And I can't believe they got Martin Scorsese and Robert De Niro to even be in this film. That's crazy. But, yeah, this film is just very, very, very bad, but kind of in a good way, you know? Like, it's bad, it's so bad that it's good. And that's probably the only reason why it's ranked a bit higher than expected. But yeah, Shark Tale, still pretty bad.
Blowing is not good. I will never go into the ocean again. Lesson learned.
Number 41 is Ruby Gillman, Teenage Kraken. Now, this might be a controversial pick, because I know this movie does have a fan base, but I just never got with this film. This film never really hit with me. When I first saw it in theaters, yes, that's right, I was one of the 5 million people that actually went to theaters to see this film. And yeah, ever since I first saw it, like, I didn't even bother watching it again for this marathon. One, because it was a recent film that I watched, so, you know. But the other reason was I just didn't really want to see this film again. It's just very mid. Like, DreamWorks, this is the film you decide to release after Puss in Boots: The Last Wish? Like, seriously? I mean, at least it's original. But still, the characters, like, none of them have any redeeming qualities. The animation is pretty nice. I'll give DreamWorks that. The animation is pretty nice. But other than that, this movie's just not my cup of tea. I never cared for it. There's barely anything I even remember from the film. So yeah, this is also a very forgettable film compared to the other films. Like, at least Shark Tale's memorable in the worst way, but like Ruby Gillman, nah, not even memorable. At least for me. Some of you guys will probably disagree, but hey, that's all right. But yeah, Ruby Gillman, pretty bland and boring and forgettable, and that's why it's at number 41 on this list.
Thighs? I think some guys at my gym take this stuff.
Number 40, Boss Baby Family Business. Yeah, this might be a shock, because I know many people do not like this movie at all. Some people even consider this film to be much worse than the first. And I am the opposite, because I would have to say, this film actually has a story. Not a good story, but it actually has a story. Like, a story that, like, is a bit interesting. A bit. Like, very, very little. It's a very, very little. But still, at least this movie has a story that I can go for, unlike the first one. And the animation is a bit of an improvement, of course. And I'd overall say that this film is just a bit better than the first. But not by a long shot, because it's still pretty bad. Like, look how low it's on my list. But I wouldn't say it's, like, really bad. I'd just say it's pretty bad. And there's nothing much for me to say. I mean, the movie was pretty long, too. I don't think this movie deserved to be an hour and 40 minutes, like over an hour and 40 minutes. This was probably one of DreamWorks' longest movies for some weird reason. But it exists. That's what I can say. The Boss Baby 2 does exist. And I heard a third one might be in the works, which is gonna be very bad. But there's nothing else I can say about this film. It's pretty meh. And that's why it's at number 40 on this list.
Oh no! My hands are in the air like I just do not care!
39, Home. Yeah, this movie is just not it, Chief. I know for some reason, at least for me, for some odd reason, this movie does have a fan base. And I don't know why, but hey, at least good for you guys, I should say. Good for the people who actually like this movie. For me, personally, this movie is also very mid. The music, no. The animation, meh. Like, the character designs aren't even that good. Like, there are some movies that came out years before this movie that had much better designs and that are from DreamWorks. So, I don't know, DreamWorks. Were you guys drunk when you were making this film? I have no idea. But, yeah, this film is just mid. There's nothing I can really talk about. The characters are mid. The story is mid. This film is just overall mid. And that's why it's at number 49 on this list. Not 49, 39.
Because singing killed my grandma, okay?
38, Trolls. The first Trolls. Yeah, this movie, no. This is, no. That's what I have to say, no. Like, why, DreamWorks? Why? And a trilogy? You seriously think this franchise deserves a trilogy? And I heard that the person who made the third film is already having ideas for a fourth? No. Stop, DreamWorks. Please stop. No. But I'll have to admit, the animation for this film is pretty cool and unique, I guess. The story wasn't as bad as I thought it was when I saw it years ago. So I guess, some of these movies, at first I didn't like it, but after the rewatch for the marathon, some I either hated more or liked more. And I guess this film is one that I kind of liked a bit more, but still, it's very mid. All the Trolls films are mid. You already know. If you've seen the movies, you know what I'm saying. And there's nothing much left to talk about this movie. 38. Trolls. Yeah.
A pinky promise.
Wow, who could have guessed? 37, Trolls World Tour. Anyways, yeah, this movie, I remember this was like the first movie I watched ever since COVID was a big thing here. I actually watched this at home because, they send it straight to video on demand. Those were crazy times, I'll tell you. Crazy times indeed. But yeah, Trolls World Tour. Why is it ranked a bit higher than Trolls? Well, I'd say the story is a bit of an improvement, and the animation is a big improvement, and overall this film is just an improvement from the first. But not by much, because it's still mid. I mean, look how low it is on the list. And I'd say the music in this film is a lot better than the music from the first film. At least the original music, Well, none of them can top Can't Stop the Feeling, except for one song from the third film, which we'll get to. But yeah, this movie is just very mid. But I have to admit, the colors and animation is what actually carries the film for me. But still, mid film.
So, how was school today?
Stop attacking me!
36, Trolls 3. Anyways, yeah, Trolls band together. Why would I consider this to be the best of the three? Well, one, the story is a story, but the animation is also a lot better, like an improvement. I feel like each of the films get a bit of improvement as they go. Like the second film was an improvement in the first film, and now the third film was an improvement in the first two films. So let's hope it'll be the same for Trolls 4, but then again, let's also hope that Trolls 4 does not become a thing. Like, please, DreamWorks, stop. But yeah, this film has a few redeeming qualities, but the characters are still obnoxious. I don't care for a single character here, maybe Branch, but still, the rest, no. And I do like the song that they had, the original song, Better Place. I listen to that song occasionally, and I have to admit, it's a pretty good song. But yeah, other than that, this film is just still mid. Yeah, nothing much to say. The Trolls franchise overall is mid. So please end it here, DreamWorks, please. Like, at least give other franchises that actually deserve a sequel, like Rise of the Guardians, a sequel, not Trolls. But yeah, you do you, I guess.
I remember the sun and the sky and the wind calling my name.
35 goes to Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, or however you pronounce that last word. Anyways, yeah, Spirit. So this is actually one film that I actually watched for the first time during this marathon. And this is only one of 3 films that I watched for the first time. The other 2 was Boss Baby 2 and Spirit 2. So, yeah. But anyway, Spirit 1. At least this film's got some redeeming qualities, unlike the other 2 that I mentioned. I'd say the animation for this film is pretty great for its time. This film released all the way back in 2002, so it's already been over 20 years. And yeah, I've heard that animating horses is like one of the hardest things to do for animation, because like animating them running, I hear it takes a lot of time and it's time consuming. So making a film all about horses might have been a risk, but I'd say that DreamWorks did a solid job. This film is pretty solid. There's nothing that I really remember from, nothing that I'd really consider to be memorable, nothing worth pointing out from the film. But I'd say it's a decent film. It's pretty decent. And that's why it's at number 35 on this list.
He is here. I sense it.
This might be a bit of a controversial choice. 34 is the B movie. Why is the B movie ranked a bit higher than other films? Well, I have to say that it's all based on nostalgia and how memorable the film is. I remember most things from this film compared to the films that are under this film or that are ranked lower than this film, because even if the B movie is just generic and mid, it's got a lot of things that people remember especially the memes. This is one of the most heavily memed films from DreamWorks. And it's not hard to see why. The film is overall dumb, but very funny. I'd say this film is one of DreamWorks' funniest films. I laughed a lot in this film. And that's weird because this is not even a great film, but it's still a very funny film. And that's extra points because if a movie makes me laugh, then there's at least some redeeming qualities of it. Even if it's bad. This film isn't, I wouldn't call it bad. I'd just say it's pretty mid, but still. It's only ranked a bit higher because it got me to laugh. And there are there's a lot of memorable moments from the film that I remember because, yeah, it's the B movie. What's left to say? That's why it's at number 34 on this list.
Both is good.
33 goes to The Road to El Dorado. This is another film that I didn't bother on rewatching for the marathon because I barely saw this film for the first time last year. So, yeah. And I just didn't really want to see this film again. Like, it's good. It's not bad. There's nothing bad that I didn't like about the film. It's just a film that I wouldn't really consider to be as great as some people who've seen the film, speak it out to be. Because the film's good and all, but I wouldn't call it great. Like, I think it's like a solid 7 for me. But that's just me personally. I'd say the music is great. Elton John, he knocked it out of the park for sure with this movie when it comes to the music. There's like 2 songs that I'd say are some of the best songs in all of DreamWorks and all of animated movies in general. So, yeah, the music is great. The animation is pretty damn great for 2000. This movie came out in the year 2000. That's 24 years ago. Crazy. But yeah, and the 2 main characters, they are icons. I mean, come on. But yeah, the film is just pretty good. There's nothing really too special about the film, and that's why it's at number 33 on this list.
Who's bad? Sinbad.
32, Sinbad, another 2D animated film from DreamWorks. Yes, if you did not know, this film was indeed from DreamWorks. And this film released back in 2003. So why is it ranked a bit higher than like The Road to El Dorado? This was one film that I actually rewatched for the marathon because it's been years. I don't even remember the last time I saw it, but I do remember I was like very young. So it's been over 10 years since I've seen the film, and since I rewatched it again for this marathon, I liked it a lot better. The animation is pretty great, not gonna lie. I mean, those CGI scenes are a bit questionable, but other than that, this film is pretty great animation-wise. The story is pretty bland, and the characters aren't that great, other than Sinbad, of course. But I think I just had a fun time with this film. You know, it's a pirate film. Pirate films are usually great, or fun anyways, and I had a fun time with this film. So that's why it's a bit higher than some others. That's why it's at number 32 on this list.
Wait! What kind of cake?
Now we're in the top 30, and starting the top 30 is way back when, Mr. Peabody and Sherman. Now, this movie, I'm guessing a lot of you probably don't even remember that this movie existed. Well, it did. It released back in 2014, the same year as the Lego Movie, Big Hero 6, How to Train Your Dragon 2, etc. But yeah, this film was also one film that released the same year. And after a rewatch, I have to say, I think I like it a lot more than when I used to, because I don't even remember if I saw this more than once. I do remember seeing this in the theaters, in the theater when I went to go, but I think that was the only time that I actually saw the film. And now that I saw it again, I have to say it's actually pretty good. Very underrated compared to the other films that are on this list, but it's still a pretty decent film. Like, I forgot what score I gave it, but it's decent. It's a pretty fun movie, and yeah, that's why it's number 30 on this list.
Look, status report! I'm really getting tired of this song.
Number 29 is Penguins of Madagascar. This is the spin-off film of the Madagascar films, and yeah, what do I think of it? This is another film that I haven't watched in years, but I do also remember going to the theaters to see this film as well. And it also came out in 2014, just like Peabody and Sherman. But yeah, thoughts. As you can see, this is my least liked film out of the 4 Madagascar films that we have. But I have to say, this is another fun film. Like the whole spy thing, the spy gimmick that this film has is pretty cool. It's nice to see the penguins have the spotlight, even though there was already an entire show that most people consider is much better than this film. The new characters we get are pretty cool, except for Dave. Dave is just bland and generic. Like probably one of the most mid villains in all of DreamWorks, for sure. But the penguins, they do a lot of wacky things. It's awesome, fun, funny. This film is overall a fun film. But yeah, still the worst when it comes to the other three Madagascar films, at least in my opinion. And yeah, it's just a really fun film. If you love the penguins from the Madagascar series, you'll probably love this film. And that's why it's at number 29 on this list. 30, not 29, 30. It's actually on 30, not 29. Okay, the next movie will be 29. But yeah, 30 on this list. The actual film that's ranked 29 on this list is Abominable. This might be a controversial pick because, one, Abominable is very bland. It's not great. It's not anything special. It's just a bland film. But why is it ranked higher than other films that I say are fun and are a good watch, a good time? Well, I have to say the music in this film is very good. The animation is also very good. And overall, I think I might be biased because this film played a Coldplay song in it. So, but still, I'd say this film is pretty good as well. Like, it's bland, but in a good way, if that makes sense. The villain sucked. The characters aren't that interesting or anything, but I'd say that this film is still pretty decent, and that's why it's at 29 on this list.
Stand back. I'm gonna kick my butt.
Number 28, Kung Fu Panda 4, the most recent film to release from DreamWorks and the most recent installment in the Kung Fu Panda franchise. Now, I've already made a full review of my thoughts on this film, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but if you want to hear it, then go to my channel, because it was a few days ago before this video even dropped that I made a whole review on this movie. But yeah, Kung Fu Panda 4, it's a solid addition to the franchise. It's nothing special. It's nothing great. It's not as great as the other three, but it's still solid. I'm not going to say it's bad. I mean, it's at number 28, so I don't think it's bad. I just think it's pretty good. There's a few funny moments, and yeah, if you love Kung Fu Panda as much as I do, you'll have a fun time with this film. But don't expect too much. That's all I have to say. And that's why it's at number 28 on this list.
Hey, it is crap.
Number 27, Antz. I cannot recall if I've ever seen this film as a kid, but I watched it for this marathon, and I'm glad I did. I actually like this film a lot. Not as good as The Bug's Life, in my opinion, but it's pretty close. Like, I gave this film a 9 out of 10. I'd still give it a 9 out of 10. I will probably rewatch this at some point because, honestly, this film is really good. And another very underrated film. I mean, it's the very first DreamWorks animated film. It shouldn't be underrated, right? But it is, because not many people talk about this film, and this is one of the most forgettable films for people that is a part of the DreamWorks catalog, which is kind of sad. But the animation might be a reason, a key factor to it. But I have to say, this film is very good. I liked it a lot. But yeah, it's a number 27, so not as much as the other 26 films that are ranked higher compared to this film. But still, it's a really good movie. I liked it, and that's why it's at number 27.
Susan! Ooh, I just scared myself. That is scary.
26, Monsters vs. Aliens. This might be a hot take, because many people wouldn't even consider this film to be a good film, which is kind of sad because I have to say I had a great time with this movie. It's very funny. The jokes don't fall flat, and these characters are pretty good, like Blob, or Bob, whatever his name is, and the other creatures in this film. I literally forgot their names, but the only one I remember is Bob because it's Bob. Anyways, these creatures are some of the memorable characters, in my honest opinion, from DreamWorks. And this film was good enough to get its own show on Nickelodeon. And I never even bothered to watch the show. I heard people did not like it, so didn't even bother. But this movie is a good movie, and I'm not gonna lie. It's good. I think it's good. It's a good movie. It's a fun movie, funny movie. It's good. Really good, honestly. And that's why it's at number 26 on this list.
Biting my butt!
Number 25, Madagascar. The first Madagascar. Yes, for, many of you will probably be upset because I know there are many of you that would consider the first one to be the best one. But not for me. Not for me. I consider this to be the weakest out of the other two Madagascar films that are a part of the trilogy. But it's still a good movie. Like, it's still good. It's in my top 25, so I consider it to be a good movie. But compared to the other two, I'd say it's pretty meh. But it's still an overall good movie in DreamWorks because it's another nostalgia movie too. The music's pretty good in this movie. The animation is all right, I have to say. But of course, the other two movies have much better animation. But yeah, this movie's good. The characters are so recognizable. Some of the best characters to come out of DreamWorks. And, I mean, come on. I like to move it, move it. Love it or hate it. It carried a generation of kids dancing at school because of that song and stuff. So yeah, Madagascar, a pretty good movie. That's why it's at number 25.
You never knew it, Puss. But I was always there.
Number 24, Puss in Boots, the first Puss in Boots. This is another pretty underrated film because I know many of you guys don't really like this film. Some of you guys call it boring and mid, which compared to the first, no, not the first, compared to the second film, yeah, it's not great. But for me, honestly, after a rewatch, I liked it a lot more. I also saw this in the cinema, and I remember having a fun time with this film. It's Puss in Boots. It's a pretty great spin-off. The second one's a whole lot better, though, like you'll see where it's at on my list. But this movie is still a pretty great addition to the Shrek franchise. I say it's good. The music's pretty good. The characters are pretty good. I mean, come on, Humpty Dumpty. And yeah, overall, this movie's good. The animation is a hit or miss, but overall, I'd say this movie is really, honestly, good. Pretty good. And that's why it's number 24 on this list.
I'm in the sewer! No!
Number 23, Flushed Away, the first Aardman DreamWorks film on the list. Yeah, one of the best decisions that DreamWorks ever made was partnering up with Aardman because they made some great movies, and Flushed Away is no different. This movie is really good. I had a fun time. Another very funny, hilarious film from DreamWorks because it's Flushed Away. I mean, what's not to like about it? Of course, a lot of people would consider this to be the weakest out of the others because of the animation and story-wise and everything. And I also consider that. I mean, come on, it's the first Aardman film to show up on this list, so yeah, I also consider that. But it's still a good movie, a great movie even. And that just goes to show how great the Aardman movies are, most of them anyway. And yeah, this movie was just great. I had a fun time with it. Great memories with this film, watching it a lot as a kid and watching it again after so long. It's just a really fun movie, and that's why it's at number 23 on this list.
You look like you love the beach, or a good book, or the beach.
Number 22, Madagascar 2. Yes, the sequel to the Madagascar series. Yeah, this film is a whole lot better than Madagascar 1, and some of you guys would even consider this to be the best film in the franchise, like many of you. There are a lot of people that would say that Madagascar 2 is the best. And while I disagree, but that's just me, I still consider Madagascar 2 to be a great film, and it was a great addition to the series. It made the characters a lot better, and the story was a lot better, and the music was a lot better. I mean, Motomoto, come on, guys. It's Motomoto. What's not to love about Motomoto? This movie is just a whole lot better than the first movie, in my honest opinion, and that's why it's at number 22 on this list. It's a great movie. If you haven't seen it, you definitely should, because you will not regret it. It's a really great, fun family movie.
Here, right here. All your needs will be met.
I'm hungry.
In a minute!
Number 21, Croods, A New Age. This is the sequel to the Croods film back in 2013. Now, some of you guys, or many of you guys, I don't even know how much, but I know there are people that would consider this to be better than the first film. I'm the opposite because I think I have a soft spot for the first film. And this film is good and all, like it's in my top 21, so it's still a good film. But I think the first one, I just like it a lot more. You'll see where I rank it. But yeah, the second film, this is a really good sequel to the first film. It doesn't really ruin anything compared to the characters. The story is pretty awesome. Well, not awesome. It's pretty good. And the new characters are a hit or miss for me, but there's a pretty good addition, I should say. It's great to see these cast of characters back, these cavemen, and the world is so awesome and visually stunning. Overall, this film is a great film, and that's why it's at number 21.
I told you they was organized.
We're in the top 20 now, and starting the top 20 is Chicken Run, the first Chicken Run. Yes, this is another film that was distributed by Dreamworks, so it counts. Yeah, Chicken Run. I saw this film quite a lot. I rewatched it last year to get ready for the sequel, and then I rewatched it again in my film class because my film teacher, he gave us a few options for some animated films, and the majority of my class chose Chicken Run because that was one of the options. So I saw it twice in the same month. So yeah, I have a lot more respect for this film, and of course you have to respect what this film did for the stop motion era, because without this film, stop motion movies, you wouldn't see a lot of them. But if it wasn't for this film, there wouldn't be a lot. And this is still the most successful stop motion film to date, and it came out 24 years ago. So there was no other stop motion film that came close to how successful this film was. And it's not hard to see why. The story is great, the characters are great, the stop motion still holds up. Some of the best stop motion animation we see is in this film, and Aardman just knocked it out of the park with their first fully length feature film, which is Chicken Run, and that's why it's number 20 on my list.
No crackers, Gromit. We've forgotten the crackers.
Number 19, Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were-Rabbit. Well, would you look at that? Another Aardman film distributed by Dreamworks. This one released back in 2005. Whoa, that's the same year that I was born. Huh, what a coincidence. Anyways, Wallace and Gromit. I love these characters. These two are some of the most iconic characters. I mean, come on, Wallace and Gromit. I remember watching a few of the shorts as a kid, and I remember watching this movie quite a lot as a kid, and I was pretty excited to rewatch it for the marathon, and I'm glad I did. I like this movie a lot more now. Another great Aardman film, and it's my personal favorite Aardman film. I have to say so myself. I'm probably biased because, Wallace and Gromit, but still, this is a really great film. I mean, it won the Oscar for 2005, so come on. I'm not the only one who thinks that knows or sees how great this film is. It's a really great film. If you love Wallace and Gromit and Aardman in general, then definitely check this one out. And that's why it's at number 19 on this list.
Is there a doctor or perhaps several security guards that could leave their post and help me?
Number 18, The Bad Guys. Yes, this is one of DreamWorks' recent films, and this was the last film that I rewatched for a part of my DreamWorks marathon. And yeah, I still think it holds up. It's visually one of the best films from DreamWorks, and also story-wise and character-wise, this film is really great. DreamWorks did great. 2022 was a great year for DreamWorks. This film and Puss in Boots: Last Wish, man, DreamWorks, you were on fire that year, unlike Disney. But still, this film is great, a great book adaptation, and I honestly would like to see a sequel. I know there's more than one book, and so they could do a sequel. But don't make it a Netflix sequel, or don't make it a bootleg sequel like what you did with Megamind. Please, DreamWorks, do not do that. Make an actual theatrical sequel for The Bad Guys, if you plan to, of course. But yeah, The Bad Guys is a really fun and entertaining film. The action is awesome. The music is awesome. Everything about this film is awesome. And that's why it's at number 18 on this list.
What?
Shh.
Number 17 is Madagascar 3, Europe's Most Wanted. Now, this might also be a hot take because I know that there are many of you that would consider Madagascar 3 to be the worst film out of the three films, and I heavily disagree. And I might be biased because I remember watching this in the theater as well, and I remember when I got out of my theater, I saw a good friend of mine watching it the time after the one that I watched, so that was cool. And I have great memories with this film. And every time I rewatch this film, I have a fun time. And this film was just really great for me, honestly. I know some of you guys will probably disagree, but I also know there are a few of you guys that would agree. Madagascar 3 is just it's honestly my favorite of the franchise, and is another great film from DreamWorks. A fantastic film, if I say so myself. The animation is great. You cannot deny the animation was top notch in this film. And the characters are still great, probably the best they've ever been in this film. Maybe not Marty. Marty was a bit annoying and a bit sidelined in this film. But the others, well, Melman and Gloria were also sidelined. But Alex, the main star, he was great in this film. This is probably the best film that we saw Alex. I don't know. Maybe. But that's just me. I just love this film a lot. I definitely see myself rewatching this film a lot as the years go on. And yeah, it's just my personal favorite from the Madagascar franchise, and that's why it's at number 17 on this list.
I'm calling it the end.
Dun, dun, dun.
Shine your way. Number 16 is The Croods. That's right, the first film, which some people wouldn't consider to be a great film, but I consider it to be one of the best that DreamWorks made. It's in my top 16. That's how much I like this film. It's a great family film. The family dynamic that these cave people have is awesome. Reminds me of my family sometimes. And overall, this movie is just great. The animation's still pretty great. The designs for the characters are also a hit or miss, but overall, like the visual effects and stuff, like the background and everything, the colors, how vibrant it is, this film is just great. I like the film a lot, and Owl City made a song for this movie, so come on. And yeah, overall, I just like this movie a lot. It's another movie that every time I rewatch it, I feel like I like it a lot more each time. So yeah, The Croods, another great film, and that's why it's at number 16 on this list.
Chit chat in the chitty chat chat in the chit chat.
Top 15, and starting the top 15 is Kung Fu Panda 3. Yeah, a lot of people consider this film to be the weakest, but not anymore, if you know what I'm saying. Anyways, Kung Fu Panda 3. I'd say this is still a great addition to the Kung Fu Panda franchise. Like, sure, some characters get underutilized, like the Furious Five and Master Shifu, but it's great. This is a great film for Poe's development. Like, you know, he gets to see his father, he gets to see more pandas and learn the panda ways. It was awesome. And while Kai isn't as menacing and as good as the other two villains from previous films, I'd say he's still a pretty great villain. And don't even get me started on his theme, on Kai's main theme. Bum bum ba-dum, bum bum bum. Come on, that's just freaking badass. You cannot deny this movie is really awesome, and it's also visually the best of the three. Visually, well, that might be debatable. It's either this one or the second one, but they're both visually stunning. This film is great. All three Kung Fu Panda films are great. The fourth one, not so great, but the three are great, and that's why it's number 15 on this list.
This is the part where you run away!
Number 14. This might also be a hot take, but I know there are a few of you that like this film just as much as I do. Shrek Forever After. The used to be final film of the franchise, but let's face it, everybody should know by now that Shrek 5 is happening. There's nothing we can do about it. Let's hope it's just good. Let's hope it's not going to be like Kung Fu Panda 4. Let's hope it's actually good and not damaging. Anyways, Shrek 4. This film is great. This film and the first two Shrek films are great. All three of those films are 10 out of 10s for me. Let's just pretend that Shrek the Third does not exist for a minute. Shrek 4 is honestly a really good film and a pretty great conclusion to the Shrek franchise, other than the fifth film. But yeah, Shrek 4, great movie, and it's also visually the best of the four films, of course. And Rumpelstiltskin is not that bad of a villain. He's pretty great, not gonna lie. The movie's just overall great. It was great to see Shrek go through this development of, his wanting to be a father and, showing that he really cares about his family and friends. So this film is just really great. The music is also great. I love this film a lot. I gave it a 10 out of 10, so it's still a 10 out of 10 for me. And that's why Shrek 4 is number 14 on this list.
Some of those must have been really hard to pull off.
Like that tiger?
Oh, that tiger was crazy. Ah!
Tra-la-la! Don't know why I did that. Number 13 is Captain Underpants, the first epic movie. This is obviously my favorite book adaptation from DreamWorks, other than Shrek and How to Train Your Dragon, which we'll get to. But yeah, this movie is great. I love this movie. I read some of the books in elementary, and this movie gives you the same vibes and style as the books. It's really great. It's a great book adaptation, and honestly, the characters are great. The animation is really great and unique, and I really hope to see a sequel from this for this film. I don't know if we'll get it because I don't think DreamWorks is interested, but I would really love to see a sequel. I know that the Dogman movie is going to happen. I haven't read the Dogman books, but some people even consider the Dogman books to be better than the Captain Underpants books, so maybe the film will also be better. We'll find out. But still, the Captain Underpants movie, it's such a great movie. The music is great. Everything about this film is great. There's like nothing that I don't like about this movie. It's a great movie. I'm glad I watched it, and that's why it's at number 13 on this list.
There's no Easter Bunny, there is no Tooth Fairy, and there is no Queen of England.
Number 12, Megamind. Megamind. Yes, the Megamind movie. The only Megamind movie, right? The only Megamind movie that exists is at number 12 on my list. Why? This movie's a masterpiece. The characters are great. The actors did a great job, especially Will Ferrell and Jonah Hill. They did fantastic in this movie. And the animation, I mean, the character designs aren't great, but the animation overall is great. And this is honestly one of the best, like, hero films of all time. It's up there with the first Incredibles film, so, you know, it's great. This film is great. It's funny. It's got a lot of things going for it. It's a really great film. I love it. A lot of people love it. I'm not the only one. I know that. And that's why Megamind's at number 12. It's a really great film. DreamWorks, please make a sequel. Please, DreamWorks, an actual sequel that exists, okay? An actual sequel that exists.
Hey, one ride, but that's it.
Everyone loves this sleigh. Bunny.
Number 11, Rise of the Guardians. Yes, one of the most underrated films from DreamWorks. Some may even consider this to be the most underrated film of DreamWorks. And I honestly agree. This is definitely, in my opinion, the most underrated film from DreamWorks. And come on, like, this film bombed. It did not deserve to bomb. Like, come on, people. Why? Why did you not show up to Rise of the Guardians when it was in theaters? Why? Tell me why? Anyways, this film is a masterpiece. The characters are great. It's awesome to see these folk tale characters in this way, like the Easter Bunny and Santa and Jack Frost. They're probably my top 3 characters in this film. They're all great. Hugh Jackman does a great job in this movie. And what's his name? The guy who voices King Magnifico, I forgot his name, but he does a great job in this movie as well. And the animation is pretty great. The character design's not so much, but the animation is great. The story is great. One of the best stories to come out of DreamWorks. Like, it's pretty dark. Like, come on. We love seeing this dark side of DreamWorks. And yeah, this movie's just really great. Very underrated. It deserves a franchise. Unlike Trolls and The Boss Baby, this film deserves a franchise. And I hope it'll get one. It probably won't. It's like very unlikely. But still, I would love to see a franchise coming from this. The Rise of the Guardians is definitely one of the best films, in my opinion. And that's what's at number 11.
Viking. You're not my son.
Starting in the top 10 is, of course, How to Train Your Dragon, the first film. Some consider this to be the best, some don't. And I'm one of those people that don't. But it's still a masterpiece. All 3 How to Train Your Dragon films are all masterpieces in my eyes. And, like, come on. The people who made these films, they did a fantastic job. Visually, some of the best work from DreamWorks. And, like, when it comes to the character and story, it's definitely some of the best as well. DreamWorks, you did a fantastic job with the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Let's hope you can keep this up with the live action. I don't think you're working on it, but still, like, please, Universal, don't screw up the live action, even though it seems like you might, but please don't. And you probably won't, because I heard the people who worked on the trilogy are working on the live action, so that's pretty good. Anyways, yeah, How to Train Your Dragon 1. The character designs aren't great. Definitely the worst when it comes to the 3 films. I'm so glad they updated the character designs for the other 2 films. So, yeah, the only thing that takes me back from this film, or that takes me back, is the character designs, especially Hiccup's design, like, no. But, yeah, still a masterpiece, 10 out of 10, and it's in my top 10. So, yeah, that's why it's at number 10 on this list.
You're as beautiful as the day I lost you.
We go where no one goes. Number 9 is How to Train Your Dragon 2. Yes, the second film. This was my favorite of the 3 for a while, but then after a rewatch of the third film, it became my new favorite, and you'll see where I rank it. But yeah, the second film is obviously a really great film, a really great sequel. In my honest opinion, this film should have won the Oscar in 2014, not Big Hero 6. And even though I love the Lego Movie as well, I prefer this film. I'm one of the people that prefers this film, and I would have had this be the winner, in my honest opinion. Because like DreamWorks, they barely win. They barely win the Oscars anymore. And they only won twice, and one of them was because of Aardman. So yeah. Anyways, How to Train Your Dragon 2, a very great sequel. A very great sequel. It's awesome to see Hiccup looking like how Hiccup should look like. The story is great. Like, if you watch the film, you already know the story is great. It's very emotional, impactful. The villain, not so great. But overall, the movie is just great. It's a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece. And that's why it's at number 9.
Look! I found my nuts!
Might be one of the hottest takes on this list, because some of you guys might not even consider Over the Hedge to be in your top 10, but I consider it. Not just top 10, but top 8. Number 8 is Over the Hedge. This film, I might just be biased because I remember watching this film a lot as a kid, and I loved it. I loved it as a kid, and I still love it even more now. This film is great. The characters are great. The animation is all right, especially with the freaking human designs, like, ugh. But that doesn't even matter with this movie. This movie is great. The music is great. I mean, come on, the songs, like, you know, the rock in the suburbs, like, come on, please. The movie is just great. And this is one of the only movies that has more than one villain. Like, there were 3 antagonists in this film. And that epic conclusion with, you know, the epic conclusion of this film, the epic battle, that is great. Probably some of the best moments in all of DreamWorks, in my honest opinion. I might just be gaslighting this film, but I don't care. Over the Hedge truly deserves it. It's very great. Another underrated film from DreamWorks. Not many people talk about this film, and that's sad because this film deserves a lot of recognition. And I'm here to give it the recognition that it deserves. And that's why it's at number 8 on this list. Over the Hedge. Fantastic film. Watch it. Deliver us, deliver us. Number 7, The Prince of Egypt. Yes, some of you guys are probably wondering, why is this not in your top 5? Why is this not your number 1? Well, I love The Prince of Egypt. I do. It's a masterpiece. It's such a fantastic film. And objectively, it's DreamWorks' best film. Objectively. But when it comes to my personal favorites, there are just 6 other films that I prefer than this film. But like I said, this is objectively DreamWorks' best piece of work that they've ever done. And I don't think they'll ever do anything just as good as this, because The Prince of Egypt is something else, man. If you haven't seen this film, you definitely should. Even if you aren't, like, you know, even if you don't believe in religion, you don't have to watch this film. This film is great. It's a really great film. Visually, one of the best films of all time, and overall it's one of the best films of all time. Like, there's nothing bad about this film at all. The cast is great, the music is great, the animation is so great. This movie came out over 20 years ago, and the animation still holds up, especially the water scene. If you know, you know. This movie is a literal masterpiece, and I mean, it's not hard to say why. The people who made this film, they truly did a fantastic job with this movie. And like I said, it's objectively DreamWorks' best. But there are just 6 that I prefer, and you're about to see.
Or like a bright
A light fury.
Yeah, yours is better, probably.
Number 6, How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World. Yes. For some reason, this is my favorite film of the 3, and I'll tell you why. This is one very great conclusion to the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy. Like, it's just a very awesome film. Visually, one of the best films as well. This film was just awesome. I was able to see this film in theaters when it first came out, and I'm glad I did, because this is just such a great film. It's a masterpiece. All three How to Train Your Dragon films are all masterpieces. And yeah, I'm just glad that they exist. They're really great. They changed the ways of animation, and this is just a fantastic film. And also, it's a very heartwarming and sad film. Like, if you truly like these characters, you will probably cry or at least tear up at the end of this film, because it is a conclusion. So you're pretty much saying goodbye to these characters, and it's pretty sad if you really care for these characters. And some of these characters are really great, like especially Hiccup and Toothless. They're some of the best characters to ever come out of DreamWorks as well. This film was just a great conclusion. The villain is pretty good. Actually, it's probably the best villain out of the three films, in my opinion. And yeah, this film was just really great. I love it, and it's my favorite of the three. And that's why it's in number 6.
You? Him? He's a panda. You're a panda. What are you gonna do, big guy? Sit on me?
Starting the top 5 is the very first Kung Fu Panda film. Yes, this film is in my top 5, and it's not hard to see why. This film is great. This film is so great. Like, the villain, Tai Lun, what a badass. The animation is pretty great for its time. It's not the best out of the 3, maybe 4 films, but still great. The characters are great. Like the Furious 5, come on. This is probably the film where you see them at their best. Well, no, that's a lie. This is the second film where you see them at their best. We're about to get to the first one. But yeah, Kung Fu Panda is just such a great, fantastic, funny film. I don't know anybody who actually doesn't like this film. It's a really great movie. It's not hard to see why it's so beloved and became one of DreamWorks' best franchises, because they really outdid themselves with this film. Kung Fu Panda is such a great film, a fantastic film, a masterpiece even, at least to me, and that's why it's at number 5 on this list.
Oh, Lord. Somebody once told me
Number 4, Shrek. The very first Shrek, the film that started it all. Yes, Shrek 1, number 4. This film is just freaking great. Like, there's nothing to not like about this film. Maybe the animation, but come on, for 2001, 3D animation, that's very understandable. This film is just really great. Like, Shrek and Donkey are some of the best duos in all of media, honestly. And the music is fantastic, like All-Star. There's no movie fit song like All-Star. Like, come on, you cannot tell me another great, fantastic song like All-Star. Well, I know there are great movie songs that are probably like eons better than All-Star, but still, All-Star carried a generation. You cannot deny that. This film is great. The characters are great. Even Lord Farquaad is great. And this is probably the second best film that we see Fiona in. Like, the second best film that Fiona is actually great in compared to the others. Of course, the best film that Fiona was in would be Shrek 4, because that was when she was at her peak. But still, this movie is great. There's nothing bad about this film, in my opinion. And yeah, Shrek 1. Like, what's not to like about Shrek? And that's why it's at number 4.
And I don't mean it metaphorically or rhetorically or poetically or theoretically or in any other fancy way. I'm deaf. Straight up.
Who is your favorite fearless hero? That is right. Number 3 is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. Now, before I rewatched this film, it would have been maybe number 6 or number 5. Then I rewatched it, and it went straight to 3. Yes, this film is a freaking masterpiece. DreamWorks, I don't know how you did it. I do not know how you did it. But you managed to make one very awesome masterpiece, and that is Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. The animation is some of the best animation that we've ever seen from the studio. The characters are great. Puss in Boots is just as great. He's actually probably the best in this film. And the villains, don't even get me started on the villains. Like the Goldilocks and the Three Bears, they were pretty good. Jack Horner stole the show, but come on, Death. That's how you create the best villain in all of DreamWorks. Death. Like, come on, guys, come on. You already know if you saw the film. I've already talked about this film in my 2022 movie ranking, so I won't talk about it much. But yeah, this film is just great. It's a masterpiece. If you haven't seen it, watch it. It's truly the best of Puss in Boots. And that's why it's at number 3 on this list. It's such a great film, a great addition, a fantastic, perfect addition to the Shrek franchise. And if the same people who worked on this film work on Shrek 5, then I will be looking forward to what's in store. But only time will tell. Taking the runner-up spot is Kung Fu Panda 2. I mean, come on. Most people would consider the second to be the best. Well, maybe not most, because there was this whole poll that someone on YouTube did that was saying which Kung Fu Panda film was the best. And I was shocked to see that most people would say that the first one's the best. But then again, apparently, shockingly, there are some people who've only seen the first movie, so that might be a key factor as to why most would consider the first to be the best, because they haven't seen the others. But still, Kung Fu Panda 2, masterpiece. One film that got me to tear up, even cry a bit after rewatching it. Like, I was legit somewhat crying a bit in this film. If you know, you know. This film is, like, deeply and heavily one great film when it comes to the story and the development of characters, especially Po. Like, come on, seeing his backstory and stuff, it was amazing. And don't get me started on Shen, who is, in my opinion, the best Kung Fu Panda villain, and will probably stay the best Kung Fu Panda villain. Like, the chameleon does not even come close. Come on. She does not even come close. So, yeah, this film is just great. It's a masterpiece. The best Kung Fu Panda film, in my opinion. I don't know if it'll ever be topped. It probably will never be topped. That's if they make a 5 and 6. But yeah, Kung Fu Panda 2, masterpiece. And this is also the film that the Furious 5 are definitely at their best in. And yes, overall masterpiece, such a great sequel. But it's not my favorite sequel, because that will be number 1. And that is...
Hey! Isn't we supposed to be having a fiesta? Uno, dos, cuatro, hit it!
Shrek 2. And it's not even close. Shrek 2 is by far the best DreamWorks movie, in my opinion. Like, this is how you make a sequel. Take notes, Kung Fu Panda and Trolls. This is how you make a sequel. And by Kung Fu Panda, I mean the 4th film. If you know, you know. But yeah, this is how you make a sequel. They just knocked it out of the park. Like, Shrek 1 is great and perfect on its own. But Shrek 2 is a whole mile higher and a whole mile ahead. It's just great. They make the characters great. The freaking story is great, and the villain, like the fairy godmother, probably the best villain in the Shrek franchise so far. Well, no, Death is. She's second, though. But other, like, the Puss in Boots movies aside, she is the best. And, like, come on, the I Need the Hero scene, like, come on. That was one of the best moments in cinematic history. This film is just fantastic. It's perfect. It's a perfect sequel, and it is by far my number 1 favorite film from DreamWorks. And I don't know if any film will ever come close, but Shrek 2 is just fantastic. The introduction of Puss in Boots, which soon led us to the amazing sequel of Puss in Boots. And yeah, this film is just so good, and it's also visually one of the best films in the Shrek franchise. You know, the second one, of course, the second best visually film, because Shrek 4 takes it, but still. Shrek 2 is a masterpiece, and it's not hard to see why it's my number 1 favorite film of all time from DreamWorks Animation. And that is my list for my top DreamWorks films, all the DreamWorks films ranked, all their theatrical films anyway. So yeah, I'm sorry for a long video. This is one of my longest videos for sure, but come on, there are 46 theatrical releases from DreamWorks Animation. So it's not hard to see why this film is going to take an hour to make. And yeah, this is my list. That's it. Of course, my list is not the right list. We all have opinions. So let me know what your top favorite DreamWorks films are in the comments section. And have you seen Kung Fu Panda 2? I mean, not Kung Fu Panda 2. Have you seen Kung Fu Panda 4? Are you planning to watch Kung Fu Panda 4? Let me know all the details in the comments section. And also let me know if you agree with some of my takes on this list. And yeah, DreamWorks overall is a great studio. Sure, it hasn't been as great as it once was, but that's pretty much every studio at this point. And hey, at a time, it was like neck and neck with Disney. Like, Disney finally had competition when DreamWorks showed up. So just don't forget that. And yeah, DreamWorks Animation is just such a fantastic studio. Most of the time anyway. They do have a few duds. not a few duds, like quite a lot of duds, but still, DreamWorks Animation is great in its own right, and I'm glad it exists. Like, without DreamWorks, we wouldn't have Shrek, we wouldn't have Fu Panda, How to Train Your Dragon, Madagascar, etc. So, thank you, DreamWorks. Thank you for bringing us all these wonderful franchises and films and characters, and honestly, the future does not look bright, but The Wild Robot looks like it can be another top-tier masterpiece, as long as you do it right, DreamWorks. But I have faith. I have faith. And yeah, I am going to be intrigued with what DreamWorks has in store for us in the future. But with that said, thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for the next one. My next full movie ranking video will probably be for Illumination to get ready for Despicable Me 4. So, but that won't happen till the summertime, so just, we'll have to relax, take a breather for 2 or 3 months. But yeah, thanks for watching. I'll see you all in the next video. And this is TDI Fan 2024 signing off. Peace, and have a great day/night.